I remember in 2019, I was talking with one young chap, a family friend of ours, and I was talking to him, and he said to me, you see, where people can get value today is actually to buy FS. And so when you look at the level of volatility between 2019 and now, a number of people have cashed out hugely on trading on just dollar assets. And that was because of the way the market, of course, global politics were read. Now, when you also look at the things that are happening globally, because some of all these things are things that are actually responding to the geopolitics as it's being played worldwide. Now people are saying that Americans themselves are not beginning to look and say, oh, our president, is it driving us in the right direction? Are we losing China?
This is Souq Business Landscape. Nigeria-dominated mutual funds surged by about 140% within 1 year as investors increasingly shifted away from dollar assets, signaling renewed confidence in local currency investment. Now, according to a new report by KPMG, the trend reflects changing risk appetite amid evolving foreign exchange conditions and evolving and improving yields in Naira instruments. The report showed that Naira-based mutual funds expanded from 2,289 billion in 2024 to 5,480 billion. That's 5 billion, 4.8 billion, 5.84 billion in 2025. A whole lot of return, marking one of the fastest growth rates in Nigeria's asset management industry in recent years. Now, analysts are linking the surge in two higher domestic rates, improved FX market stability, and policy reforms that enhanced confidence in Naira-denominated assets. By contrast, dollar-dominated mutual funds recorded much slower growth, rising from 1.708 billion in 2024 to 1,920 billion by November 2025. Now, KPMG said the divergence highlights a broader portfolio rebalancing as investors prioritize local returns over foreign currency hedging amid easing exchange rate volatility. Okay, now for those that might really not understand, everybody most times gets to think of what do I get to buy, sell in the market. They forget that as long as the Naira is gaining strength, a lot more is happening in the capital market and the asset-based market. Are we seeing a shift that is going to be continuous?
Well, I don't think it's something that's going to be continuous. I always say from sales perspective, consumers are very, very discriminative. They understand the dynamics of how market moves, and everybody is following that flow. So nobody wants to keep his money somewhere where there'll be no value added. I remember in 2019, I was talking with one young chap, a family friend of ours, and I was talking to him, and he said to me, you see, where people can get value today is actually to buy FS. And so when you look at the level of volatility between 2019 and now, a number of people have cashed out hugely on trading on just dollar assets. And that was because of the way the market, of course, global politics were read. Now, when you also look at the things that are happening globally, because some of all these things are things that are actually responding to the geopolitics as it's being played worldwide. Now people are saying that Americans themselves are not beginning to look and say, oh, our president, is it driving us in the right direction? Are we losing China? Now, when you look at it now, you find that a lot of American analysts, they are obsessed with China. And this is because we're looking at the possibility of the BRIC nation who are determined to see how to pull dollar down. And every day you see the dollar weakening, coupled with the huge debt in America. So the value of dollar is falling, and that's a global trend. And therefore, any investor who wants to put money elsewhere for investment will not be thinking dollar at this moment. You have to be cautious, looking at the market and see how it plays out. So I think for me, these are the key things that are actually affecting the shift from dollar-denominated mutual investment to Naira-denominated. Now, we're also seeing that there are a whole lot of positive that's also happening years at home, which, of course, is the fact that the government is actually trying to face the brutal facts. I think it's Petroan that I saw yesterday reacting to the GMD of NNPC saying that Nigerians should thank Dangote for building a refinery, and that the waste that has gone on in NNPC for too long, that he came to save us. And they were not too happy, and they say they were going to protest that it be removed. You see, because he was saying that there's a whole lot, the financing of that fraud were politically motivated. And most of the debt that we're talking about, don't forget, a lot of it is getting into those areas. Some are getting into the electricity, what they call it?
Discos?
Whole.
Okay,
Not just disco. Whether it's Genco, whether it's TCN, whether it's a disco, there's so much that government is borrowing to be able to block this loophole. So when we are looking at government borrowing, they are borrowing it to drink tea and coffee. They're borrowing it to see whether they can salvage some institutions that, in my view, are not salvageable. I said it the other day, I said they should sell NNPC so that these people who buy condemned iron, they can take advantage of it. People were laughing at it, but that's the truth. Because if you tell ourselves that these things are not working,
that's harsh.
So we cannot begin to borrow money and use it to fund projects that we know that they cannot produce results. So this is the thing. And that is why it's important that as long as we continue to do the right thing and support the right policy so that we can have homegrown solution to most of our problems, now we continue to appreciate. And as Naira appreciate against the dollar, then of course, keeping your value in dollar will become economically not making sense. And I think it's this understanding of the market that's actually responsible for the shift, in my view.
The understanding of the market responsible for the shift. We woke up some 2 weeks ago and the dollar was still about 1,400 and 500. We woke up 1,450. We woke up 3 days later, it was 1,400. As we speak, it has gone down to 1,300 and something. That's the value you're talking about.
You know, Bismarck actually said that right now the dollar is underpriced. Because when you look at the data, it suggests that the dollar should be trading really at the real market value of 1,226 Naira.
1,226 Naira. Okay, I will learn to believe your prophecies very soon. Now, let's get this way. We saw a lot of bonds that 2 years ago, we saw bonds that were, the government just decided to, okay, now let's turn this to dollarized bonds. And Nigerians oversubscribed for it. Now, put yourself in the shoes of those that subscribed for those bonds at that particular time, when the dollar was about 1,500.
They made a whole lot.
Then now, you just know that, okay, yes, I have my dollar, but right now, the dollar has gone to 1,003. And if you follow what is coming from this way, it's most likely going to keep going down as long as the policies keep working. And we play our part.
Yes, you
Do
know.
you think they've made a wrong business calculation?
Well, just like Doctor said, you know, a lot of people, the alternate way of saving back then was buy in dollar, keep it, and hope it rises. So when the dollar is going up, while people are also angry that the dollar is going up, some people are smiling, especially people who are traveling also, or people who come back, you know, into the country. You know, they hold their dollar for a while and all that. Sometimes, even if you, back then, like 5 years or 6 years back, if you are traveling, someone might approach you that, okay, let me give you money to buy dollar at the bank at a cheaper rate. Then I take it to the black market and I sell and I make profit. And we also remembered recently when Dangote said that people should go and sell. I said it, and it was like people thought he was just boasting or he was making wild calculations, but he meant it when he said people should go and sell their dollar because it will be useless. I mean, it's a good thing. And now, what this means is that people importing with the dollar will pay less. But are we seeing that reflection? You know, there was a time that, well, for noodles and spaghettis, it was imported. But thanks to, you know who, Dangote and all that, we have a variety of that. And that broke the competition. So people now have a variety. I can decide that I want to purchase the local spaghetti. I can decide I want to purchase the imported ones. So it gave way for a whole lot of things. So the major, and of course, the bonds, the local bonds are doing well. I only pray, or I hope that a lot of people would invest into this so that we can, see the dividends of it. So as long as this Naira holds steady, as long as the interest rate is relatively, let's say, no, not high, because people don't, but the reason why investors' confidence are solid because of the interest rate. It's high. Local bonds is doing well. The FX market is relatively stable. I also agree with Doctor. I think it should, because there was a time dollar was just 300 Naira, 300 to a dollar.
Are you looking for
during Buhari's time?
Okay.
Do you understand? So it can actually come down. It can actually come down. It's just good policies. Once we strengthen our policies, once we make sure everything, local production also matters too, because local production would help drive that, help drive the dollar down, help Naira gain that strength. And I'm also looking forward to us having our own digital coin, supporting our own.
We have digital.
Yes, we have now.
It's the usage that is the issue right now.
These are things that we need to patronize more.
Okay.
Instead of the Bitcoin.
Okay. While we look at patronizing our own digital forms of currency, just like you said, we also want to look at the points where a lot of monies are stacked outside the banking system. And the CBN is trying its best to make sure that we are getting to an election cycle and people just wake up one day and flood up the society with too much money, and we now have this funny inflation that is not book-wise. What will you advise the CBN to do at this point in time?
Well, for me, still looking at he was talking about investment earlier on people who invest in dollar. If you sow groundnut, you reap groundnut definitely. So they are going to read in dollar. So I don't think that anybody is actually making any loss, except that you want to convert them to Naira. That's where you will suffer loss, because if the dollar is not shifting in its national value greatly, so you can still make a lot of it. You can still get to Japan and convert it to yen and make so much money out of it. So
that's for those there. If you are here, you have to spend Naira.
So if you're not converting into Naira, of course, you may not be losing so much. And I don't think those guys have made any wrong investment decision, especially it's bond and it is fixed in terms of rate and return. So for me, there's not so much to lose. But I don't think CBN should lose sleep over whether Naira coming into this trade. And many people must understand that our problem here in this country, our inflation is not driven by the volume of currency that's in circulation.
Okay.
For me, it's always a kind of a wrong analysis for us to think that because people have money in their hands, that's why there's inflation. I don't think so.
So let me ask the same question you used to ask. Who has the money?
That's the question you have to actually find out. So when you say there's inflation, which means you have so much money chasing few goods, that's not the situation we have. We have a bulk of our population, which is almost about 60% of our population, that are extremely poor, and they don't even have this money. You have an army of people who are working, the working class, whether they are working for public sector or they are working for
Private sector.
a private sector, who are in the middle and they are earning less to nothing. They don't have money. So the problem of inflation for us is issue that has to do with our productivity level. How do we get people to become more productive? That is where we need to have to drive issues. And I think that beyond what CBN can do is the fact that we also have to look at the fiscal dimension of solution to this problem. And the bigger issue here, for me, is the Land Use Act, which actually has not been reformed since 1976, when Obasanjo signed that act into action. I think the National Assembly must look at how we can creatively use our land so that rather than allow people waste away in the streets, people can become reproductive. So we have enough food. And then you now see whether too much money is in circulation. Because there are a lot of people who are also trying to sell and they cannot sell so much. My wife was asking the younger sister about 2 days ago, how much is a bag of curry selling now? She says about 10,000 in the village.
In the village?
In the village.
It's about 10,000. But how many people are doing the farm? So you still come to the city, you see these things are still expensive. Because there are not many people involved in that farming. So same, of course, you get to rice. We don't have it enough here. A lot of the paddy had to come from other states because people don't have access to land, to farm, which is a major problem. So how do we guarantee access to farm for those who want to work so they can actually have? Because once you have enough supply, the market will regularize or regulate itself. But if you don't have enough supply, so you create room for hoarding, and then people can then start to speculate pricing. So if we want to avoid some of all these things, is us becoming more productive so that we can produce enough food that people can eat. I always tell people, growing up as a child, I was in a local village where people were coming all the way from Kano, Port Harcourt, Benin City to Lagos, coming to our village every 5 days to go come take yam, take plantain, take pineapple, and all manners of fruits, oranges in their season. But today, when you go to that same village, they are looking for people to sell them yam to buy. And these are the change in the demographics that we must also pay attention to, that is actually responsible. Because when you look at the inflation figure, food is actually the driver or a significant driving force for Nigerian inflation, not so much of the money that we have outside of circulation. CBN, they're doing absolutely well. Yes, let them continue to monitor the things that are. But you have a population that is largely rural, largely poor, who need 5,000, 1,000. People go to ATM these days to go and withdraw 500 naira.
Okay.
But then again, Doctor, from your analysis, if you say food is not available, if it's available and people still don't have money to buy.
Yeah, of course, that's what I'm saying. The market will regulate. So if you have plenty of banana that's about to spoil,
the price
you
will come down.
can't hold price at a certain level. So you have to play with price because in competition, it's either you're playing on price, or you're playing on differentiation, or you're playing on value addition. So if these guys don't want to sell, maybe they convert it to plantain chips somehow. And of course, that has a lifespan, you know. So it won't affect the prices all around because you have enough. Because that's the elementary principle of economists, demand and supply. If supply exceeds demand, chances are that the prices are going to go down. Then what we're having is that you have a situation where you have demand exceeding supply, and therefore the business people or the middlemen have to find a way for arbitrage, a way to speculate pricing, and then of course you hold some, you keep some, release little, and then of course you can keep the price at that level. But if there's a whole lot in the supply pipeline and so much goods is coming into the market, you can't hold it. So that's what I'm making. So once we can increase the level of our productivity as a nation, a lot of this price can regulate, and then we can actually know what's the value of our inflation. But right now, a lot of people are unproductive, and that's a big issue. So I'm not so much concerned about the money in circulation. Why is there so much money in circulation? So if you have about 100 million who are poor, who need 1,000 to go to the market to do a pot of soup, if you multiply it by 100 million, you know how much that is in circulation. And not to talk about people who have 5,000, they want to go to the market, and they don't have enough to even say, okay, somebody want to charge them 100 naira or 200 naira or 150 per the withdrawal of 500. So people are taking cash because as we speak, they don't have it enough to even keep in the bank. That's the point I'm making. So money in circulation should not be a problem. We know that there are a lot of poor people who are holding 5,000 here, 2,000 here, 1,000 here. You accumulate it, it becomes a whole lot of volume. But if people become productive and they are earning so much money, they'll go and keep it in the bank.
Okay.
Because they'll be afraid that people will come to the house to come and take it
Steal
away.
it.
Okay. You forgot the part of some other elites that are also keeping them in those rooms.
Elites don't keep money in the room anymore.
Where do they keep them? Safe.
They don't keep it. Except it's a stolen money that needs to be cleaned.
Okay.
If it's not stolen, they don't keep it in the house. Because if it's genuinely earned, you see, because
it's in the banking system.
you see, people talk about, there are some things that people are talking about today that makes me feel that, are these guys in touch with reality? I've seen beggar on the street asking you money. I say, don't have. I say, do transfer.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Not to talk about people who are selling on the street that are telling you do transfer. So if beggars can take transfer, is it people who want to sell their vote that will not take transfer? That the same politician will need to keep money in the house to buy votes? I think we are not reasoning at the wavelength at which society is going.
But we know a lot of politicians keep money.
No, but what I'm saying to you, they don't need to have the money in the house.
They don't need to, but they do.
They don't need the money in the house.
But
so,
they do. But would they have?
You see, what I'm saying to you is pre-2023. Is it like they say, since hunters are shooting without missing, birds are flying and they are not perching. So people understand this reality.
Okay.
That's why I said we are very smart people. People understand there are ways to do things that you don't need to create unnecessary attention. You see, if you are, for example, you are in a position and you are in a booth and you carry money, there's an eye on you. People are likely to give you a trouble. Now they don't do that.
Okay.
And now OP has made a lot of things, and this fintech money transfer makes so many things very easy. That,
definitely they do.
So
the last report is still saying over 94% of monies are not in banking system.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying to you. Those money, they are not in the hands of the rich.
In the hand of the rich?
They are not.
Okay.
So that's the point I'm making. Because you should understand the reality.
Okay.
And the reality which I'm saying to you is that we're having a population that we are told that over 60% of our population are extremely very poor. And you're also having an army of people who are working and they are not earning so much. So people don't want 25 naira, 50 naira allowed fund deducted from their money because it means a lot. So they take it out and keep. So the people who are keeping money right now, if you multiply by an average of 5,000, 10,000 for 100 million people, that's so much money that you find in circulation. So because these people are keeping this money because they can't afford to leave it in the bank.